Ciao a tutti, and welcome to another episode of Around the Paddock. This is the very first one that also coincides with the beginning of the 2022 season. As Nico, you know, we just finished watching the Bahrain GP, first race of the 2022 season.
Yeah.
And I know we got a lot to talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
So welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us on another week of Around the Paddock. I'm Seb, he's Nico, and we've got your VIP paddock passes to all things F1 from this past week and then some. So, Nico, let's just hop right into the formation lap because we got to get through this to then talk about the race.
Oh, yeah, we have to get through a good bit to get to the actual race. So the first thing I want to talk about is something that I brought up on the previous episode, but now they've got confirmed. There is no new engine development for F1 for the rest of 2020. There's a temporary ban, and I believe it actually even goes on to 2020 or 2022, and I think it even goes on to till 2023. So considering the events of the race, this is going to be a very important thing to look at.
So it's a 2-year engine freeze, you say?
That's how I have it understood. I can only see it saying there's a temporary engine ban and starting on 2022.
Or freeze, I guess. Not
and I know that they're looking to implement. Yeah, it's a temporary freeze. And I know they're looking to bring in new engine a new type of engine for 2026. So I'd be interested to see how long this temporary freeze actually lasts.
Okay, so maybe it makes sense for the end of 2025, and then at the beginning of 2026, we get the new engines. Plenty of time to develop and test them.
Yeah,
makes sense to me.
Yeah.
On another note, I do want to mention our boy, friend of the show, Sebastian Vettel. He tested positive for COVID, and as a result was not a participant this weekend. So the Aston Martin reserve driver Nico Hülkenberg was the one who replaced them, and we'll talk a little bit more about their performance. But obviously, just like with Danny Rick, we wish Seb a speedy recovery, and hopefully he's doing a lot better now because he tested positive early in the week. So hopefully you're doing better, Seb, and hope to see you next week at Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then just to kind of move on to the main point that I wanted to kind of mention to you and to the audience. But so the FIA released a full race report of the Abu Dhabi GP from last season, so the final race of the season, especially concerning their final lap and safety car fiasco, let's call it.
That's a very nice way of putting it. Yeah.
We're trying to keep it relatively clean, but I know you know, and I know what you think. So the TLDR of the whole thing was, so they claimed the team principals distracted Michael Massey from being able to make the decision appropriately, which to me seems kind of weird. Very excusey.
Yeah, it seems a bit like a just trying to like toss blame somewhere else.
Agreed.
It's not really a good answer.
I agree.
That's really not a good answer. Yeah,
I agree with that. It does seem, like you say, they're just shifting the blame. But they also announced that there was going to be new software for the beginning of this season and moving forward to automatically identify the cars that should unlap themselves. And I mean, again, like all for that. I'm all for that kind of like automation and stuff because I think it's cool.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be really helpful. But obviously, you need to have that human element as well, right? If the program fails, you need to have somebody that's also keeping track of which cars need to unlap themselves. And then by that logic,
I also feel
it's like why weren't they doing that before?
Yeah, I feel like this is like automating a rule set that should have already been well defined. Like it seems like a needless automation. Like if the rule set is known, you don't need an advanced system to be able to determine what cars should or should not unlap. This feels like a way to prevent what happened in Abu Dhabi, but it also feels weird.
Yeah, it just seems like a weak answer. I mean, like, even in the race ticker, like, when you're seeing on the TV coverage, you can see that, like, this driver is +1 lap, right? So it's like we as the audience watching the TV feed can tell which cars are lapped and which would need to unlap themselves, right? So,
I
mean...
Honestly, if the FIA wants to pay me, I'll just watch the races and tell them which cars to unlap.
Seriously. So, I mean, like I said, any kind of change and improvement is obviously good, but it does seem like the answer is
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
weak in my opinion. And then so an
yeah,
overhaul of the race management structure, and I know we spoke about that, especially with the
yep,
two race directors coming in, having the overseer, right? So
yeah,
changing it up a little bit.
yeah.
And then mostly they
Which I think
just,
is a good call.
yeah, right. I mean, yeah, a little bit extra
Yeah,
set of eyes and oversight shouldn't harm. Again,
yeah,
consistency is
yeah.
the important thing, so that's what we're hoping for.
That's what they should be aiming to. Yeah.
And then just to finish it off, it's basically
Hmm.
an error. The error in call was mostly due to human error, but obviously said that the result is valid, which I'm not complaining about that. I think Max deserved the championship one way or the other.
No.
It was just
Yeah.
a weird finish.
It was a very weird finish, but I think it's smart to just actually give this as like the final standing result. Like it would be a bad look for the FIA to just first race back of 2022 and be like, oh wait, no, Lewis actually won, right? And
No,
Max
yeah,
came second. I think they their hands were tied on that aspect. And I think it makes sense that they want to automate things if human error was what was determined to be the issue. So
yeah. And we
yeah.
team principals can't talk to the race director anymore, so we will never hear another radio call like, no, Micah, no. So
Is it that they can't talk to the race director anymore, or is it
they
that they
can't.
can't broadcast it?
No, I think they just
Oh
cut
wow.
straight to the race directors. I'm sure they'll be able to communicate to somebody else in race control, but the race
Yeah.
director will
Yeah.
not be bothered by
What
the team
about email?
principals.
Can they still send an email?
Well, yeah, but let's not forget they don't check their email during the race, right? So
Yeah, but email.
and then speaking of consistency, hopefully, Nico,
Hmm.
can you
Yeah.
tell us about the
Yeah.
track limits or the track limit
Yeah,
enforcement? I
so
guess.
it seems due to last year and all the mess uppery that happened, especially in the last two races. Oh my God, they're enforcing track limits much more strictly, and I think this is actually something Alonso was complaining a lot about.
Yeah,
So I'm actually glad to hear that they're actually properly enforcing track limits, because some races, man, some overtakes last year they really weren't deserved. Like it's
illegal
absolutely
one
nuts.
race, valid another race. Yeah, it made no sense.
Yeah, right. And it sometimes felt like it depended on the racer. Not going to get into any of that controversy, but I'm glad to see that
It's
they're.
kind of true.
It is, yeah. I mean, like they did it. Like for example, in the Abu Dhabi last race, lap 1, Hamilton went off track to get an advantage on Verstappen, and he didn't have to give it back, which is a clear violation. But
when Verstappen did it in Brazil, I remember, then he did have to give the position back.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad to see they're just going to strictly enforce it, because that's the way it should be. There shouldn't be any like gray area on overtakes or just on track limits, but especially overtakes on track limits.
Agreed. So
yeah.
Hopefully there's more consistency. I mean, we keep saying that, but consistency is key for the officiating. So let's hope that they're actually able to enforce it throughout the season.
And talking about efficiency, actually talking about consistency, my bad. Let's talk about the horrible technical issues that the F1 TV and I guess F1 TV is having with the live coverage graphics. Whew.
Yeah,
it seems to be going everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, so I mean, I know a lot of people online have kind of hated on it, and I haven't been the biggest fan, to be honest, either. But I will give it to them that they seem to be trying different stuff. Like you kind of see like a kind of a different graphic showing the same stuff as before, so you can kind of see that they're experimenting. But
I actually really like the new style they chose for the graphics. The like the portraits and stuff. But
with the
for
shadows,
example,
it looks so artsy fartsy.
Yeah, I know, it looks so nice. But for example, I think in the race today, I even saw on Reddit there was a what was it? Magnussen they were showing like a comparison between Magnussen and another racer for an overtake, right? But it was Magnussen overtaking Magnussen, right? Like So, or what was
or
it?
the purple sectors, right? Like when
purple
they're
sectors,
marking the fast purple sectors, you'll have 2 or 3 drivers with purple like second sectors or first sectors.
Yeah, and I think they even messed up on some, because I remember them saying that even the commentators were a bit confused during FP2 or Free Practice 2, where who was it? I think it was Albon who it ticketed as having a fastest lap when he actually didn't, when he just had a personal best.
Right.
So there seems to be a bit of inconsistency on the graphics side, which I'm sure by next race is going to be fixed. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I also saw a bit of a in the start of the race, the thing where they showed like the racer's name and stuff like that also was cut off. It was like cut in half. So
Yeah. Well, hopefully, like you say, hopefully by next race they can get something a little bit more solid going and
yeah,
consistent, and then and yeah. I mean, I know it's kind of
hopefully they
petty.
strictly enforce the yeah
No,
yeah.
what were you saying?
But I was gonna say hopefully they can strictly enforce the graphics as much as they do the track limits.
Oh man, yeah. Well, if last year's any indication, then we're gonna be seeing them all over the place. But yeah, I know
Yeah,
it's a bit petty to kind of complain about the graphics and stuff, but it was just something
yeah,
I think a lot of people noticed. So you
yeah.
got to let the people know. But let's
Oh yeah,
not kind of get held up here in the formation lap, because the main
yeah.
event is the main race topic, right? And that's
Yeah.
the
So let's
Bahrain
get on to that. I
GP.
have
So
so much to talk about.
I just want to kind of break it down like this. Like, we'll first talk about qualifying, which happened on
Yeah,
Saturday, right? So I'll mention
makes
like
sense.
the qualified positions. We'll kind of give our thoughts on that, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then we'll talk about the race. So again, we'll talk about like the
yeah.
race finish positions, and we can just get on that, okay? Um,
Sounds good.
so I mean, I'll just quickly rattle off the qualifying
Hmm.
classifications for the sake of time. So in first place, we had Charles Leclerc for Ferrari.
Yeah,
Second was Max Verstappen for Red Bull Racing. Third, Carlos Sainz for Ferrari. Fourth was Sergio Perez, so Checo, for Red Bull. Fifth was Hamilton for Mercedes. Sixth was Valtteri Bottas, actually, for Alfa Romeo, so it was
hmm.
good quality from him.
I have so
Seven
much to say
was
about that.
Kevin Magnussen from Haas, so I know you were hyped about that positioning, and hey, good on him.
Yeah,
Um, Eighth, Fernando Alonso for Alpine. Nine, George Russell for Mercedes. 10th, Pierre Gasly for AlphaTauri. And then just
yeah.
quickly rattling off the bottom 10, we had Esteban Ocon, Mick Schumacher, Lando Norris,
Woo.
Alex Albon, Zhu Guan Yu, Yuki Tsunoda, Nico Hülkenberg, Daniel Ricciardo, Lance Stroll, and Nicholas Latifi. So two Canadian boys
Yeah.
in last place. All right,
Kind of
Nico,
makes me sad, but all right.
give it to me. What'd you think about quali? What'd you see?
Man, qualifying was amazing. It was utterly amazing. For everyone for years who've been saying that Valtteri Bottas is only good because of a Mercedes can eat their pants.
Yeah,
He
shouts out
outperformed
Valtteri.
George Russell. Yeah. No way anyone can say that he is just just getting by on a Mercedes. This man outperformed the Mercedes. I'm so happy to see Mick on hitting Q2. Unfortunately, he couldn't quite hit Pierre, like he couldn't quite pass Pierre Gasly's time.
Yep,
But
yep.
man,
But hey, good
Magnussen
first
and
performance.
Bottas. Oh yeah, also good on Zhou. Zhou did amazing
Yeah,
this
yeah.
this
For a
weekend.
rookie, first race, it was clean,
Yeah,
clean.
really clean. Yeah. Um, but yeah, Valtteri Bottas and Kevin Magnussen 6-7. They split up the Mercedes. I was not expecting that. Great on that. Glad Pierre Gasly got P10. I'm actually a little bit disappointed with his time, if I'm being entirely honest. I thought he would have been faster.
Yeah, I know. I had him
And
higher too, but
and
hey,
something is yeah.
no. I mean, finish your thought, and then I'll tell you
Oh, I
mine.
was gonna say, and something is happening to Aston Martin and McLaren, man. I can't tell you what it is. They
Okay,
seem to be Haas 2.0.
can I just need to say something to preface it before we
Go
kind of
for
get
it.
in on it and everything. But Aston
Yeah.
Martin is looking like booty out on that racetrack, okay? And
Yeah.
it has got me.
Yeah.
Well, okay, it has me disappointed, obviously, because you don't want to see them in
Yeah.
the back. But with everything I've been seeing about the fact that Aston Martin knew that they were going to have problems, so they porpoise a lot, right? So they're bouncing up a
Yeah.
lot on the straights. So they've actually compensated by lifting the car up a little bit more, which is actually
Yeah.
causing them to lose performance every lap, right?
Yeah.
So they're already working on a B spec of the car, so like a new chassis and a new design,
Yeah.
and it's going to be ready for
Last
this season.
last week we even said that we were talking about how they even said that they're gonna radically redesign the car because they weren't happy with it. Eh?
Exactly,
Oh, that's
exactly.
smart.
So
Yeah.
that gives me a little bit of hope that at least they recognize this early and they can hopefully stamp it out. So I don't anticipate it to be a good season for Aston Martin, but
Yeah.
if they're able to kind of step it up maybe for the second half with the new design, then
Mm.
that can give confidence going forward.
Yeah.
But yeah, like McLaren. So basically, the Mercedes power unit teams, they just did not look
Yeah.
that strong, right? So you have
No, not
Aston
at all.
Martin running a Mercedes engine, obviously Mercedes, Williams,
Yeah.
and
Williams.
McLaren, which I have a lot more to talk about McLaren in a little bit.
Yeah. Actually, I
And
didn't see Williams all too bad, considering it is Williams. I was really disappointed with Latifi. I mean, really good job on Albon getting to 14,
yeah,
P14 on
shouts out
quali.
Alex Albon, also his first race back
Yeah.
after a year out. Um,
Yeah.
Ferrari power engine is looking hella strong, because you
Oh my
got
god, yeah.
Ferrari, you got Haas, you got Alfa Romeo. They all qualified really well.
Yep.
Um,
And then you have the Renault engine kind of
just there.
being literally perfectly mid.
Yeah, literally. Like there's
Yeah.
no separating Ocon and Alonso with that Renault
Yeah.
engine. And the Red Bull
Yeah, no,
engine
no.
looks good too. I mean,
Yeah. Red Bull engine, we'll get onto it.
we'll get into it, but hey, we're talking about quali right now. Like Red Bull
Yeah,
engine
yeah,
look
yeah.
good in quali, so
They
they're
look pretty
fast,
good.
right? They're definitely strong.
Yeah.
Reliability, I mean, that might be another thing altogether, but
Yeah.
in terms
I
of
mean,
pace,
Yuki didn't perform all too well, if I'm being entirely honest. But
yeah,
I'll give him a pass.
yeah, we're gonna pass.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else you had in mind?
Yeah,
with
actually, I wanted
quali?
to say, just a bit of a side note. If I remember reading correctly, I believe I read this correctly. The top 7 people who did the top 7 in quali. So Charles Verstappen, Charles Max, Carlos, Sergio, Lewis, Valtteri, and Kevin all had better performance on Q3 than Q2 and Q1, whereas Alonso didn't. So I was actually even looking at it, and I could imagine that Alonso's Alpine F1 could have probably passed both Bottas and Kevin.
True.
So it would be interesting to see next week. So, the mid pack is very dense, and we'll get into that. But yeah, it honestly looked like Alonso could have pulled out a slightly faster race and gone past both of them.
Yeah, interesting. I guess I know Alpine is still kind of
Yeah.
working on unlocking the car's full potential, so to speak. So yeah. Maybe in a few races.
But hey, if they can get where, if they can hit where Valtteri is, I mean, P6 isn't terrible.
No, not at all.
Not where they want to be, I know, but it's not terrible.
Well, considering they have a 5-year plan, I can see them being content being in like the 6th place and stuff like that, right? Start off strong and then build on that success to work their way to the top. But yeah. But now we'll talk about the race.
Let's hit the main race.
Again, okay. I'll just kind of shoot off like the finishing positions, right? And then I'll let you start going off because I don't know what you think about it. I know I kind of mentioned a couple of things to you, but I haven't really given my thoughts on a lot of it.
I have notes.
It'll be cool. It'll be cool to see what you think. But anyway, so this was the finishing order for the 2022 Bahrain GP. So in first place we have Charles Leclerc for Ferrari, then followed by Carlos Sainz, his Ferrari teammate, then Lewis Hamilton in third, George Russell in fourth, so Mercedes also bunched together. Kevin Magnussen in fifth for Haas. I know you're hyped about that. Valtteri Bottas in sixth place with Alfa Romeo. Esteban Ocon in seventh with Alpine. Yuki Tsunoda in eighth place. Fernando Alonso in ninth. Zhu Guanyu in 10th, so shouts out to him because he had a good race. Mick Schumacher in 11th place, so just lost out on his first point.
Yeah, he had an okay race.
Lancelot Vancelot Stroll in 12th place, followed by Alexander Albon, Danny Rick, and Lando Norris, so McLaren showing horrible pace. Nicholas Latifi, 16th. Nico Hülkenberg in 17th. And then you had Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen, 18th, 19th. It's actually essentially DNF'd. But as we'll see later, they DNF'd basically on the last lap. So they finished 18th, 19th. And Pierre Gasly, 20th place, also DNF'd with about 10 laps to go. So Nico, get us started with this, man.
Yeah.
I want to hear your notes.
All right. Okay. I have a lot of points, so let's just go through this. Man, Bottas, what a great race. Considering he was shafted at the start of the race, because he was shafted at the start of
he
the
had a
race,
horrible
because he was
start. Horrible start.
yeah, he was pinched and pushed back. What an absolute great race. P6, he I believe this is the same position he started in in qualifying.
Yeah, it is.
Sixth.
It is. So yeah, he didn't.
So he didn't move up or down.
What is it? Damage limitation, damage control.
Yeah. But no, an absolutely great race. I was very impressed to see how he actually got on. Man, it was like an utterly impressive set tracks for him. Like,
I think the fact
like I said before, anyone who used to say, yeah.
No, I was going to say.
I was going to say that.
All right, I'll let you go. I'll let you go.
Okay, you go. Okay, fine. I was going to say, considering the fact that everyone used to say that, like, man, he's like a bad racer. He's only good for Mercedes. That he's only there to really give Hamilton, the to be like the sidekick, because it is something a lot of people used to say.
Oh yeah.
No, that's over. No one can say that. You don't get to be P6 like that. You don't get to race like that. He dropped really low. At some points, I think he was like 15th, 16th, if I remember. Early mid race, to come back the way he did. No.
Yeah, I think having that multi-year contract definitely puts his mind at ease, and he can kind of just focus on his racing, not worry about making mistakes and potentially losing out on a contract. So yeah, shouts out Valtteri. Hopefully we can keep seeing him put up those performances.
Yeah. No, absolutely. All right. I have more points. Okay. The failed Verstappen undertake, Twice. Red Bull failed.
So explain it a little bit for maybe some of the audience members that don't know too well what exactly happened, but tell them about the undercut.
Right, so I'm going to explain what an undercut is, just for everyone. Effectively, it's when you pit early into new tires. So while the person ahead of you is on older, slower tires, you pit into newer, probably like softs. I think it's soft, so you typically do undercuts with. So then what ends up happening is you can, since you have new tires, you can actually go faster and faster and faster. And the person who you were ahead before is going slower because their tires are degrading. And the theory is when the other person then comes in for a pit, you would have made up distance and you would have passed them when they have to come out of the pit. That's an undercut because you're undercutting their pit.
Yeah.
Red Bull tried to do it twice against, Verstappen tried to do it twice against Leclerc. Both times, so close. So close. And I have an opinion on the tires too, but so close. But Leclerc just held out. The second time, there was fighting between Leclerc and Verstappen, which was really fucking cool. Really cool. Sorry.
It was cool to see them overtake each other back and forth. There was a nice little fight for a bit.
Yeah. Oh, and those tires look terrible. I don't know what Formula One's gonna have to do, but they look like they were slipping right out of the pit lane.
Yeah, the tires look pretty weak. Maybe it was the tire selection for the track in general, but there was a lot of degradation, especially as well. So
I think it's a lot of oddly enough, because I know this was a rule change they did. They limited the temperature. They lowered the temperature of the wheel covers.
Yeah.
That they have. And I think what ended up happening is the new chemistry and the new form of the tires, the temperature they have for those is just too low. So they're coming in too cold when they come out to track. They need to warm them up so they can get better grip when they come out of the pits.
Yeah, we saw a few drivers having problems with traction. I remember Lewis specifically, like he just was skidding at one point after he came out on the hards.
Yeah, Zhao passed him. Yeah, he was skidding and sliding around and Zhao passed him, which, nothing on Zhao, but that is the GOAT.
Yeah, seriously.
Right? Like it's... Yeah.
Yeah, what about Ferrari, Nico?
Kevin Magnussen.
Okay, all right, fine. We'll talk about Magnussen. No, we'll talk about Magnussen first.
Fine. Okay. Kevin Magnussen, my God, what an absolute legend. 11 days ago, 12 days ago, he wasn't in Formula One. Yeah. He had no testing on the car. He brought it into Q3, came in 7th in qualifying, and ended in P5. Now, the reason he hit P5 is not on his control. That was something else, and we can get into it. But the mere fact he held basically P7 the entire time. he was competitive. At some points, it looked like he was going to overtake both Russell and Hamilton. I mean, yeah, he gave Hamilton that pass. Like he didn't really fight Hamilton when Hamilton overtook him. And I think also it was I can't remember who else was who overtook him. I think it was Bottas or Tsunoda. I can't quite remember. It was early on the race, so he wasn't really fighting them. But man, what an absolute legend!
Yeah, no, he was my driver of the day for this race.
I voted for him actually.
Yeah, he was yours too. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I voted for him 100%.
Driver of the day for Around the Paddock, I guess, for the both of us, Kevin Magnussen for his performance. I think even if he finished 7th place, that would have still been amazing for him and the team. But yeah, he got 5th place.
Yeah, votes for us. I'm a little disappointed with Schumi, with Mick Schumacher. When he was compared against what's it called, Mazepin. It was really easy to be like, oh yeah, he's pretty good. It's the car. But now actually seeing him with Magnussen, who we know is really good.
Yeah.
And I get it. He's still quite young, and last year can be a write-off. I mean, he's definitely going to need to
I am going to say
the heat up a little.
I am going to say, for the sake of Mick, if you look at the number of pit stops, he's the only one that did 2. Right, so I know that when the safety car came out at the end, they decided to keep him out, and everybody else pitted. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the fact that he came in 11th is actually really good, because he got passed by, I think it was Tsunoda, Alonso, and Zhou, right? So
yeah,
I think
it was a
had
bad
he
call
pitted,
on Haas.
he probably could have finished in the points.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, but I'm also considering the fact that at some points, like Magnussen was P7, P6, and I saw Schumacher over in like P14, P15, right? I'm not just looking at the final result. I think that car has a lot of performance, and I don't think he's pushing it quite as hard. But I am hopeful that it's mostly because last year was a bit of a write-off, and he's still and like Magnussen is that much better, right?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping next races it's going to be different.
Yeah, the experience speaks for itself,
Yeah.
All right, but now Nico, Ferrari, a 1-2 finish plus the fastest lap. So they basically took a clean sweep of today's race.
Yeah.
I'm
quite impressed.
Good. They look good.
Yeah, they do. Leclerc looked amazing. What was it? It's a almost a 6-second gap on Sainz. He had almost a 6-second.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Yeah, and that's with a yellow flag, so that's basically like a soft restart almost. Well, it's not really a soft restart. The gap closed a lot during the yellow flag. Like he had a 6-second lead on,
and the safety car as well.
Yeah. Like he had a 6-second lead over Max at some point.
You want to know something weird? I remember at one point when I was watching, I was thinking, because it was like Charles and Max, and they were building like such a lead on Sainz in 3rd place. And I kept thinking to myself, it's like, all right, well, the more things change, the more they stay the same, because you just swap out Charles with Lewis, and it's basically last season all over again, right? Where like the second teammate isn't able to close that gap. But I mean, it was.
But also, Sainz also said they didn't have that good of a race. He said he was really disappointed with his own performance. So we'll see if maybe he's more comfortable with the car, that he will, it won't just be Leclerc and Max.
Yeah, no, and I think he can get it.
Yeah. I mean, Sainz is a phenomenal driver.
Yeah. No.
All
so.
Right.
Shouts out to the Ferrari power unit. Sorry, I was just going to give a quick shouts out to the Ferrari power unit, because obviously Haas, Alfa Romeo, Ferrari, they did really well. And now going from reliable and good to maybe do you want to go from reliable and good to not reliable, or to not good?
Yes.
Which one of the two? Not reliable or not good?
I want to go not reliable.
Okay, then we're talking about the Red Bull power unit.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Man, as soon as Gasly's engine caught on fire, it was the start of the end for the Red Bull engines.
Yeah,
I feel so bad.
Survived.
Only Yuki survived. Yeah, I mean, Gasly's car shut off and caught on fire. You had Max's car lose all power effectively, and then he had to pit in. And then you had the really disappointing one, because I was rooting for him to come third. You had Checo, his engine shut off mid-turn and his car spun
Yep,
out.
yep. On the
So
last lap, like literally on the
on
last
the
lap,
last lap,
turn one
yeah,
of the last lap, engine
yeah,
just
he could have
boom.
held it. Yeah,
Yeah, I think so. I
yeah.
don't think Hamilton would have passed it.
No, and I think they even told him to lower engine power, so to preserve the engine a bit. And even there, I think he would have been able to take it because this man can defend. And yeah, just mid-turn in turn one, I think it was turn one, yeah, just shut off.
Yeah, and Max with like 4 laps to go or something like that,
Yeah,
just lost
that was
all power.
heartbreaking. Yeah,
So yeah,
no, they're gonna need to do something. That's why I brought up the engine development freeze, because they're not going to be able to make a better engine. And I don't know with that ban, with that temporary freeze, what they're going to be able to fix, but it's not looking good for the Red Bulls.
So I actually did a little bit of looking around online about
Yeah.
like what Red Bull said the problem was, and supposedly, but now I didn't get any confirmation from like Christian Horner or anyone like that, right? He hasn't texted me back, so I'm still waiting on that text. But it seemed to have been a suspected fuel pump issue or a fuel pump failure. So I guess the engine wasn't receiving like fuel at some point because like the pump just stopped working.
And it burnt out.
Apparently that is not the most difficult fix, right? So if we're going by that line of thought where it's not difficult to fix, obviously we saw from quality that the Red Bull engine is strong, right? Like we don't have to worry about their performance. If they can get it fixed, they should be okay. If not, then obviously it's going to be a lot more serious. And either way, that's not how Red Bull wanted to start the season, with a double DNF.
No.
Like at the very end of the race,
And arguably a triple DNF, because while Gasly is not a Red Bull driver, it is a Red Bull engine,
Red Bull
so it looks even worse. Yeah.
And then obviously the Mercedes third and fourth. That's I definitely wasn't expecting them to finish like that high up. But hey, if you keep your nose out of trouble and you're just doing your thing, there you go. That's the end result.
Honestly, Mercedes to me this race kind of looked like a mid pack team, not a front runner.
No.
Their times, their time was that of like Haas and Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, pace wise, they're not there, but I still think they're the third strongest team, right? So like, if Ferrari and Red Bull are going to be like flying away and like separating themselves from the pack, then Mercedes is going to be at the front of that midfield.
Absolutely, I don't think they're gonna drop down at all. I actually suspect they're gonna get a lot better in not a lot of time, but as of right now, I mean, there were points where the Haas was ahead of the Mercedes.
So to kind of use this as a nice little segue into the next topic, talking about Mercedes. So we went from not reliable in the Red Bull power engine this week to maybe not so good. And that's the Mercedes power engine, or at least the Mercedes power engine customer teams, right? So Aston Martin, McLaren, and Williams, all due to this race, kind of. I mean, McLaren and Aston Martin were due to.
Yeah. Now, I actually suspect the engine's not that bad, because I think for, like you said, for Aston Martin, they were having porpoising issues, so they brought the ride height up. So they had less, downforce. They were less competitive. And my understanding is for McLaren, it's the brake duct issue they're trying to solve, causing their car to be slower. Neither of those sound like engine issues. Those sound like car design errors. So I actually don't think the Mercedes engine is bad, but I do think it's less competitive.
Oh, a very logical answer from you, Nico. Look at you. Look at you analyze this.
I mean,
but well, either way, whatever issue it is that they have, it was like the bottom finishers, obviously outside of the 3 Red Bulls. But for most of the race, the teams at the bottom were Williams, McLaren, and Aston Martin. So doesn't bode well. Doesn't bode well for me, because I like Aston Martin. And well, I mean, when the car came out, I remember being so hyped and like, oh, the fish gills. Maybe they're the ones that figured something out to, kind of give them the edge.
They were not.
No, evidently not. Evidently not.
Evidently not. It was Haas. Haas figured it out.
Oh man, clearly though. Like funny how before the season, like, I mean, obviously we didn't know anything, but if I was going to put my money on anything, I would have obviously put my money that you should root for Aston Martin instead of Haas, and how the turntables,
How the turntables have turned?
how the turntables have turned.
Yeah.
Now I'm knocking on Gunther's door, asking to see if he has any extra
Hey man, you should
porridge
have
left.
believed in me and in Haas. I do have one last point though to make, which is actually on Alpine. Um, I wonder if Alonso would want to stay. You know, because I was reading on Reddit, and but I was reading that probably one of the convincing factors for him to come back was the 2022 car, right? Because they weren't going to radically redevelop and catch up to Mercedes in the old regulations, but the new regulations probably they could have. But they're comfortably mid-pack, and Alonso wants to win another World Drivers' Championship. Like, would he want to stay?
I worry the same for Seb and Aston Martin, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
I think if Alpine is where they are, right? If this was a good indication of where they're going to be, and they're going to be kind of middle of the pack, but still strong and reliable enough to maybe fight
upper
for,
middle.
Fight for those podiums, kind of like in Hungary last year and stuff. I think Alonso would give them one more year of a chance. But so like the whole situation at Alpine is just kind of messed up though, right? Because as we keep saying, Oscar Piastri is right there in the wings. He's a young driver. He's won every junior category basically in the first year that he's competed. So I mean, yeah, sure,
he's
give Alonso an extra year, but say Alonso stays that extra year and the car is super competitive, they're gonna have a conflict there because it's either get rid of Ocon and keep Alonso, who I mean he's age-wise he's up there, right? So it's not like he'd last as long as Ocon. And then they'd have to find a new driver after that, right? Or just put Piastri in the seat. So I don't know. It's a difficult one. It's a
tricky thing. Yeah, honestly, with the with the performance of Ricciardo and with Alonso, I'm really wondering how things might shake up next year, because it wouldn't surprise me, say Hamilton, wants to retire, or is tired of Mercedes. Like, I'm not surprised if another team would pick him up, like McLaren, and just kick Ricciardo out, or if like Alonso would want to stay or not. Yeah, it's just speculation.
Yeah, no, obviously it's still really early in the season, but if I'm gonna start forming my train of thought just off this one weekend's performance, I am most worried about Alonso, Seb, and Ricciardo.
Yeah.
About
same
where
here.
they could be at this time next year.
Yeah. And I'm also actually a bit worried about Latifi, personally. Williams got acquired. They have more money. They have more resources. And he's not performing.
He's not showing it.
No, he was... We all understood, Russell was great. Russell is one of the best drivers. He, performance-wise, is probably like the best youngest, Drive to Survive the new season. That's what Toto said. He has some of the best records. So when it was comparing him with Latifi, it was easy to be like, well, yeah, you're comparing someone to like the next great, but he's still really bad, really, really bad. And Albon is really good, but I don't think that excuse lasts anymore. Like, he's really, really behind.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll do what everybody's I'm sure is gonna be doing. We'll give them a couple more races to sort of get up to speed and see where they're at. But yeah, if we're going by first impressions, I agree with what you say. Like, yeah, Latifi's not, like, the Canadians aren't looking good. Not even Stroll. Like, Stroll was out qualified by Nico Hülkenberg, who comes in, like, he gets a call on Thursday, like, suits up on Friday, and out qualifies him on Saturday. As like,
and he's not having like the F1 training, right? Like, he's not doing the exercises that are really needed. I mean, he might be, but
and he's doing sim work and stuff, but he definitely doesn't have as much hands-on experience, especially with the new car.
Which Stroll presumably has tested like crazy. So
I mean, Stroll obviously passed him in the race. Like, race is different than quali. I don't want to get it confused with that. And I know Nico Hülkenberg, he made a couple mistakes at some turns, right? One particular mistake allowed Stroll to pass him, but I think, the performance that he did, even though he finished P17th, right? It doesn't look like much, but I think he did a really good job.
Outperforming Stroll.
Yeah, no, me too. Me too.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I also want to just note as well on accidents and incidents. Schumacher's incident at the start with who was it again? I think it was Stroll. Actually, yeah, it was Stroll,
Was it
where
Stroll?
he
But he
spun out.
got spun out. Yeah. But honestly,
Yeah,
did you see the replay though? He gets spun out, and the man like he just he spun
recovers.
right back into position. It's like he almost
I
didn't lose a
know.
beat.
Yeah, I know. Lost 2 positions, but he recovered like a madman.
Yeah, he didn't even have to like reverse or like do any kind of like
No.
turns. Like he just
Yeah.
spun right back into where he needed to keep driving. So yeah, that was pretty funny to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, I was really impressed. Also, just want to note the tires look weird. If I'm being honest,
You think
that's
so?
so many pits, so many pit stops.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the tire degradation was horrible.
Yeah,
I thought some of the rims were cool though. McLaren and Alfa Romeo had some cool rims
yeah.
whenever they showed on the
The
TV.
design wise, it was really cool. I like the
Yeah.
Google rims for the McLaren, but no,
Yeah.
I'm talking about
Yeah.
like performance wise. Like,
No. Yeah. Yeah.
what was it? By lap 32, 34, something like that. Some people had pitted 3 times or twice. Like,
Twice. Yeah.
it
Twice.
was, yeah, nuts. It was nuts. I don't remember last year there being this many pits for like secure.
No, I think 3 stops was like a bit of a gamble
Rare.
last year.
Yeah.
But I know these tires are also new and the cars and
Yeah.
everything, so it might also just be one of those things where we need a couple of race weekends to kind of have everybody get up to speed with how best to utilize the tires and stuff, right? I think maybe the fact that,
Yeah.
like you say, that they're a lot cooler once they're put on the vehicle and they go out. If they're still with the same mentality of pushing hard, and treating it like last year's tires, it's gonna cause them to degrade a lot quicker while they get up to
Yeah.
temperature. So maybe
And I
if
could see
drivers
that
can work
yeah.
around that.
Sorry.
No, I was just
Yeah.
gonna say if they can work around that, they might be able to make it last longer, and then you don't need as many pit stops.
Yeah, well, what I was also going to say is the tire spec for last year was there for a long while, right? I think that would have probably been with the start of the turbo hybrid era, so they had enough time to really refine the tires. They clearly don't have that for this one. Not clearly because of the performance, clearly because the season just started with new tire set, right? New tire, and I might actually think the season might just be like 3 and 4 pit stop heavies. Like tracks that typically were 1 or 2 are going to be 3 and 4.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, one final point for me for what I saw this race, and before I give it to you, and we'll move on to the cool down lap. But speaking of pit performances, I thought Ferrari was super freaking fast, man, compared to all the other ones. They were pulling out like 2.4, 2.5 seconds pit stops, faster than Red Bull even at one point. So,
oh yeah,
I know they were clowned a lot for poor pit stop performances in the past.
So I'm glad to see they're actually doing well too. And then Haas actually had good pit performance as well. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying. Yes, they did.
All right. I mean, I just remember the Ferrari ones, but
yeah, no, it was around like 3.4, 3.3.
Okay. All right. Well, like I said, as everybody gets up to speed with the new tires, I'm sure it's gonna go down. And yeah, you have any final thoughts for what you saw this weekend, Nico?
Man, I'm just kind of glad it's back, but the shakeup is big. The shakeup is really big.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting championship, especially since Max and Red Bull didn't finish this race. Like, just that points fight is going to be even more intense.
Yeah. It's going to be crazy.
All right, so let's go to the cool down lap now. And for the cool down lap, it's pretty simple one this week. Because next week is the Jeddah, the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. And let's talk predictions, Nico. Who do you got in the podium?
Yeah, so who I got in the podium actually comes based on a question I have to ask you about it, because I don't like the track. It's known I don't like the track. Did they change it at all, or is it still the same as last year?
Samesies.
Okay, it's gonna be. Actually, I'm gonna put in Mercedes is probably gonna win it. Who was it?
You to say.
It's one of the. Well, the reason I say this is because I believe it was Gunter actually who was saying that the Mercedes seems to have better traction and speed on low speed corners, and I know Saudi Arabia is one of the fastest tracks, but it also kind of feels claustrophobic to me. So I could see Mercedes actually coming out with a really good track, but it's probably gonna be Ferrari.
Yeah. All right. So who do you have in the podium first, second, third? Who do you predict?
Uh, if they can, if Red Bull can fix their issues, I'm gonna go again. Leclerc, Verstappen, Sainz. I think Mercedes is probably gonna be like fourth, but I could see something like a Leclerc, Verstappen, Hamilton.
Yeah, I think for me, I got Leclerc in first as well, and
Yeah,
Max in second. I mean, I could change them up though because I feel like Saudi Arabia is the track that will kind of suit both of them. Like they're both super aggressive and quick, so it's just a
yeah,
matter of
yeah,
one if they don't take each other out, and then two who gets a better quali.
yeah.
But I'm gonna go with Ferrari. I hate that you're right about me being a watermelon, but I'm kind of like I got one hand and one foot on that hype train, and I'm sort of just riding the wave. Uh,
Listen, man, I told you, you could have a green exterior. You can be an Aston Martin fan, but at the end of the day, you're gonna be a Ferrari fan.
just because on the outside I'll be in pain, but at least on the inside I'll be somewhat content, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And then I think, yeah, so I could see like Leclerc, Max, and Carlos Sainz as my top three.
yeah. I think that's the safe choice. I think that's probably gonna be what happened.
Yeah,
Given what Gunter said, I have Mercedes actually doing pretty well in Saudi Arabia. But you know what? Just to say it, I see Haas also up there.
you see Haas up there. Do you see George
K
Russell
Mag,
beating Hamilton this next race?
no, actually no, confidently no. I think
Okay.
Russell, something's up, man. I don't know what it is. Something's up with him. Like, not up with him bad, but like he seems to be so much slower than Hamilton. Like slower than like Bottas was comparatively.
I mean, we can always chalk it up to a new car, like new team, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's probably what it is. Because I don't want to say anything else about that, but I don't want to like
Yeah,
insinuate a
yeah.
lot to it. I think it's a new car and a new team, but something seems to be a bit up. Like he got split by what was it? It was Valtteri Bottas, which amazing, and Kevin Magnussen and Fernando Alonso, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Okay, so you don't have him beating Hamilton. What about Mick? Do you see Mick getting points this next race?
yes, I see Mick getting points, and I can see it either going like one or two ways, which is Gunther yells at him a lot and kind of sits him down to like see the performance difference between him and Kevin, and then Mick kind of picks up and does really well, which is what I'm hoping will happen. But you know, if that doesn't happen, I can see him just getting around like P10, P9. But I want to
That's
see
what I
him,
think. That's what I think.
I want to see him P6, P5.
Yeah, no, I think he'll finish probably like P10, P9. At least that's what I'm hoping. And what do you
Yeah,
expect about from
yeah, yeah,
McLaren for next week?
yeah. Nothing. Same
Same.
thing as right now. In fact,
Same thing.
I actually see them doing even worse because Saudi Arabia is just as hot as secure, right? The Jeddah racetrack is just as hot as secure, and there's going to be a lot of stops
That's true. That's true.
with
I
their
know they're
breakdown
fast,
issues.
but yeah, if they have brake issues, like there's it's no sense in being fast if you can't stop yourself to hit the apex.
Yeah, so I see them doing worse.
Fair enough. And I mean to the audience, if you guys have any predictions for the Saudi Arabia GP next week, obviously we want to hear that. You can always send us an email to around the paddock podcast at gmail.com. Hit us up on Instagram at around the paddock podcast, as well as YouTube or Twitter at ATP underscore pod. It would be great to hear what you guys have to think about whether McLaren is going to kind of bust out of their funk. If Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes are going to sort of be fighting it out at the front, who you guys think is going to podium. We want to hear it all. Any final points, Nico, in the cool down lap? Any last minute predictions, bold predictions? I mean, you already said you think Lewis might and Mercedes might win. I think that's bold, but you got
Yeah,
anything
I
else?
think it's a bit bold, but you know what? Not really. I don't know if I can do much more bold predictions. I think like I can try to predict the lower pack happily. It's gonna be like Aston Martin and McLaren and
Williams.
I don't know, maybe Williams. No, probably Williams actually.
Maybe Williams.
Likely Williams.
Come on.
Yeah, it's
No
probably gonna
offense
be
to
Williams. Yeah, and then AlphaTauri, maybe. I mean, Yuki
they seem kind of mid.
pretty
You know?
weak.
They seem kind of mid.
Yeah, and like they have a good engine. I think I really don't know what's up with AlphaTauri this year.
Yeah,
or at least this first race.
I
will make one last prediction. Actually,
okay.
I predict that Joe will come in points
again. Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. And then I want to predict that Pierre is going to have a good finish. He's going to bounce back from today, and he'll finish relatively strong next week.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So shunt of the week before we wrap up for this week. Give me your shunt of the week. I know we kind of have it written down here, but it's which one do you think is the bigger shunt of the week? And we'll go with that.
I really think there's only one real shunt of the week, and that's the Red Bull power engines. Yeah. I mean, I like the you like
that's as big of a shunt as you can have.
Yeah, you have 4 cars and 3 of them fail in a race. 3 of them fail at the race at the end. So that's not just like there was like one electronics issue or something like that. There's something fundamentally wrong because they all failed relatively around the same amount of time, right? Within 10 laps of each other, 15 laps of each other.
Yeah, within 10 laps.
A 57 lap race. So something's up with the Red Bull power engines, and if they don't fix it, they're gonna have an amazing car that cannot perform.
Yeah, it cost Red Bull two drivers scoring in the points, like high up in the points, right? So now they have 0 points in the Constructors' Championship, 0 points in the World Drivers' Championship. With Perez, as we said, it happened on the last lap, the first turn of the last lap, and Verstappen was like with 3 laps remaining, I think. So, I think that's as big of a shunt as you can have in a race, honestly.
Yeah, especially for a first showing.
Yeah.
And then you?
No, honestly, I agree. I kind of had the Mercedes power team, so especially like McLaren and Aston Martin, I had them as shunts of the week just because. So with Aston Martin, we kind of expected that they were going to struggle a little bit. Yeah. And I mean, I heard that McLaren was also going to struggle, but to that degree, for them to be like fighting Williams, you know what I mean? Like, Danny Rick had a poor performance. I mean, I understand he didn't do testing. He had COVID. Hopefully he's doing a lot better now, but weak performance. And even Lando, like, he didn't do anything.
No, Lando had a terrible week, like a really bad week. And it's nuts considering that in Barcelona, he got fastest lap on on the first day of testing, but that seems to have gone.
Yeah, they seem to have evolved backwards from Barcelona, honestly. So, they gotta look at what's wrong and fix that quick because the time's ticking.
Yeah. Although I actually think the Mercedes power teams, they're gonna bounce back, and they're gonna bounce back in probably a few races. I'm not gonna say next race. I think it takes longer than that, but probably a few races you're gonna see more competitive McLaren and a more competitive Aston Martin.
I hope to see that, man. I want to see a competitive midfield. It's already looking good. If we add those 2 extra teams up there, I mean, it can only get better.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
I think
any last thing you want to tell the audience or anybody else?
I just want to say I was right. Haas is good. I was also right. I predicted Ferrari was going to win this race. I don't know if I said it on a podcast, but I definitely said it. You know who I'm talking. If you listen,
Whoa,
that
Nico,
I did predict it.
Your head, it's growing. It's growing. Stop it.
I just want to say I predicted it right, and go support Haas. Go buy some Haas equipment,
and take pictures of your pets with Haas gear, right?
Yes,
or on Haas equipment.
It's mostly on Haas equipment. Yeah, if you have a 5-axis CNC mill on Haas, feel free to put your cat in it and then just take a picture. Don't turn it on.
Don't turn it on. Yeah, I was just gonna say, don't turn it on. We gotta make that clear.
New litter box, maybe. Yeah.
Not anymore, buddy. All right. Well, thanks again to everyone for joining us this week. Hopefully you had a good time, and this is kind of the format that we're going to try to sort of do for the Grand Prix weekends. Still working out a couple iron kinks here and there, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks everyone for supporting, for listening to the podcast, and we will see you all next week. Ciao a tutti.
Bye.